you give a command and you kneel and you expect them to kneel and they stick their tongue out at you. The moment you're like, they're not doing what I want, I didn't give the command right, wait, they're not playing by the rules. Like the moment any of that enters, it's like, there's a like disconnect. But if you give a command, kneel, and they stick their tongue out at you, it's like, how do you yes and that and still continue the dynamic? It's like, I see you being a brat, and I've got all day, and this scene will go nowhere else until you kneel. Imagine at some point they will be like, I think I'm gonna kneel. So there's a very like almost improv quality that I think can be wound into being a dom, that when you see it that way, literally every response that your submissive gives you is part of it. And loosening up anything you're making it mean about you and instead focusing on the creativity of what next is such gold. This is Erotic Reclamation.
Space where desire isn't shameful, boundaries are a turn on, and curiosity is welcome wherever it leads. I'm Nicholette.
And I'm Kari. And we're here to have honest conversations about sex, kink, relationships, aliveness, being in a body, and all the weirdness that entails, and pleasure that heals.
Because these electrifying, liberating, ecstatic, but misunderstood parts of the human experience are too good to hide. Okay, so we spent our first couple of episodes of this podcast talking about submission. And as we were having those conversations, Kari started to share with me little glimpses in her experience and knowledge around dominance. And so we put a pin in it, and now we're going to pull on that pin and see what your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience carry with dominance, and start to give those doms some love.
Yes, give the doms some love. Or people who are just good at it and intrigued by it. I think I'll start with just like the same way I feel about submission. For me, it's not necessarily an identity. It's something I enjoy, it's something I can find a lot of freedom in, it's something I step into and out of. And I also relate that way to dominance. It doesn't light my body up in the same way, but it's like being really good at something. Okay, that
Mhm.
sounds very full of myself. But it's
Let's go there.
yeah. I mean, I guess that's what you're wanting in someone, is that they feel confidence in how they hold a container. And I have held people in their experience of life in different ways for a lot of my life. So I'm very used to being a person who is tracking another human and what their body is doing and how they're responding. And so highly competent. I have just found it to be something people have been drawn to with me in the past as well. I think I can be a bit open in how I express in the world, whether you want to say masculine, feminine, those are energies that live outside of gender. But I think I inhabit a large range of the spectrum of humanity. I can wear flowy robes and kimonos, and I can wear muscle t-shirts and everything in between. And there's a lot in this conversation. I want to just start by saying there's a lot of assumptions, a lot of misunderstandings. There can be a lot of assumptions around gender and how that plays into this. And my invitation is to explore this more in the realms of the textures of dominance and submission and remove kind of preconceived ideas about who does that and what that might look like.
I love that.
Yeah. So, because I am 5'2", little
Yes.
blonde, and I will say that people just freaking love to see me exert some power. Like, the contrast is like, I got a big old smile on my face, and then I have a little sadistic side too. I'm not just a nurturing dom. I think people probably think like, "Oh, yeah, she's probably just like a sweet, loving, nurturing dom." No, I am so I love people so much and care so deeply about not hurting people on the regular that in a dominant role, in a consensual, agreed upon situation, giving the part of me that is so worried about not hurting people, giving that part actually permission and license to inflict discomfort can be like deeply, like, just, it's not even like nourishing, but it's just freeing because I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, thank gosh. I spend most of my time thinking how not to hurt people. And in this exact moment, I don't have to go ham on hurting someone because I'm the one in control of the degree, but I can let the filter go and I can get a little sadistic. I find it
Yeah.
to be just deeply like fun.
Well, and the delight, because I it took me a while to venture into pain and receiving pain, being the one that on the receiving end, but knowing that the person who is inflicting the pain upon me is enjoying themselves makes me enjoy myself even more. I get a lot of pleasure out of it, and I mean, I discovered that I had a masochistic side to me without, without knowing it. Like, oh, actually, I do like pain and discomfort, and I love being brought to my limits and then
Mm.
testing those limits and seeing what they are. And also, it gives me an ability to express feelings that I don't get to express on a daily basis, like anger, discomfort, frustration,
Yeah.
push friction, like I can express those things and I get to be brought in a very safe and contained way to those edges. And I get to play with those limits I don't necessarily get to play with in life.
Yes, and I think that's part of what it feels the same for me when I'm on the dominant end. I mean, depending on why, because I don't spend a lot of time there. It's not a primary expression in my life. For a minute, I entertained the idea of doing it professionally. Yeah, like in a non-sexual context, like from a more of the like power play mental component because I find that e evoking or pushing, teasing, pulling, stretching people in the, like, areas and pockets where they just have so much, like, tightness in their life or, like, that's the thing I don't want people to see in real life. I'm like a hound dog for that. It's like, let's go there because there's so much energy there, and again, consensually and set up correctly. I'm gonna stop so many disclaimers, we'll say it all. Consensual, adults, care is involved, all of that in these dynamics. Great. My one disclaimer. And it's amazing to, like, make someone feel a little humiliated in a consensual
Mhm.
way and let them have this experience that they try so hard to avoid in real life. Or it could be their, like, deepest there's just something freeing about, "Oh, I don't this isn't that scary," or, "Oh, this person's seeing me in this, and I'm not unlovable, or I'm not undesirable." Like, this part of me is welcome too, and not just, like, welcome and, like, tolerated and loved in, like, a like, all parts of you are worthy of love, which is beautiful, but it's like, "Oh, this part of you that you kind of don't wanna show anyone and you kind of find repulsive in yourself is the fuel for the erotic energy in this scene." So it's actually necessary. And, like, the alchemy and being able to, like, do that for someone or, like, with someone, I find it to be just deeply liberating and satisfying.
Yeah, and having it be called out and, like, pulled out more and more and more, bizarrely for me, I experience that as love.
Yeah.
And because it's not just acceptance, it's not just, "Oh, they're just accepting and being with it," but they actually want more of it and wanna see more of it and wanna call more of that out of me, and I'm like, "Oh, you want this from me," and that then I feel loved.
Yeah.
All parts of me.
Yeah. There's just something so fun about it too, where there's like, how do we get there? And I think this is one big takeaway that I would share for dominance is to learn how to tuck and roll,
Hmm.
the way I say it. And it's you try something and it doesn't quite land, or they don't give you the response you were expecting. Like you give a command and you're kneel and you expect them to kneel and they stick their tongue out at you. The moment you're like, they're not doing what I want, I didn't give the command right. Wait, they're not playing by the rules. Like the moment any of that enters, it's like, there's a like disconnect. But if you give a command, kneel, you were hoping they'd just kneel and they stick their tongue out at you. It's like, how do you yes and that and still continue the dynamic? Right. So the
Mm.
tuck and roll, it's like, I see you being a brat and I've got all day and this scene will go nowhere else until you kneel. And they're like, oh, they might, be fine with it for a few minutes, but I imagine at some point they will be like, I think I'm gonna kneel. So there's a very like almost improv quality that I think can be wound into being a dom, that when you see it that way, literally every response that your submissive gives you is part of it. Nothing is like not part of the scene unless they throw up like a red or stop the scene, but it's like anything they're giving you is just more to play with, and loosening up anything you're making it mean about you and instead focusing on the creativity of what next is such gold. And
Yeah.
another like hint, and then another hint I have is like, if you're not quite skilled in that yet, you're the one running the show, which includes the pacing. So
Mm.
you can always take a breath and do nothing, and then inspiration might arise.
And what I see here is your attention and your focus is really on the other rather than staying with yourself and your insecurities and your fears and your what this means about you and really staying with them. And and what I also hear in the you can slow it down, you can take a breath, that like that gives time for both of you to be present
Mm.
and to feel what's happening in the present moment and what needs to happen in that moment versus your idea of what needed to happen.
Yeah. Yes, because attachment to plan is gonna fuck your shit up. Like, set the plan, set the container, and then respond to what's actually happening.
Mhm.
And you can take that moment and still do that in a way that exerts control or command, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like now we're both just like kind of wide eyed, blankly staring at each other. It can be like, you're going to close your eyes until I tell you to open them. Now they're not even looking at you. You can be like, okay, kind of had this whole like tarp laid out over here, but this is not happening. They're still like, I'm still holding them in my awareness, but I can take a moment to like maybe change the environment, or if it's not that involved environment wise, just let the next thing come through me. Like, okay, I kind of thought it was going to go this way, but I thought she was going to brat tonight, but she's being really sweet and tender. Like I actually might pivot, or I might pivot and I might detour. So I just find it to be fun.
Mm,
And I wish I could instill that in everyone. Like it doesn't have to be this like serious. As when I've been in the submissive role, when I find someone who's like so serious they're unable to find a little bit of play, I find that not to be trustable.
mhm,
Like I think there needs to be, it doesn't mean like you're laughing through the whole scene, because there's power in like containment of laughter, which can sometimes be an off gassing of nerves. But someone who can't crack a smile when the moment genuinely is funny or calls for it, I think loses some of the magic as well.
mhm. Yeah, there's this interesting thing that's emerging here because we've talked about the importance and the submissive side of responding, responding with your body and giving the weather report and being able to reveal your feelings, the sensations in your body, the emotions, to reveal that to your dom so that they can, coast on your weather. But then something I'm seeing in what you're talking about is for the dom, the responsiveness happens in the command and the action. It's like they give some weather report and then you're responding through the next action. Does that feel true?
Yeah. Yeah. And responding and guiding,
Mm,
because it's not that the submissive response, it's information. So if there's discomfort being expressed, doesn't mean you have to move away from it. Again, depends on what the scene is you've set up and where the boundaries are. But just because this person doesn't like it, there's a plethora of options. So it's I am attuned, and then from that degree of attunement, I can decide: do we pull back? Do we lean in? Do we dilate the moment and keep them waiting with lack of action? Do we add a little dynamic play and get them a little like shaken up because it's getting a little like stagnant or heavy? Like there's just so much. So it's a response, but it's actually a response that guides towards something, not just like, well, you said this and now I do this, and then we back and forth entirely. Like there is, which I think again is in the dominance part. It's like, yes, I see you, I'm reading your body, your sounds, your responses, and where do I go from there? But yeah, it is an in response too.
mhm. So I want to tease apart this piece around attunement a little bit because we hear this a lot. Like we often our subs and people in our programs that have desires, they desire for partners or doms who are attuned to them.
Mm,
And and okay, great. But what is attunement? What exactly is that?
mm,
How do you attune to someone? What does it mean to be attuned? And and then, we can also talk about how you can make yourself attunable because it's a two-way street. It's not just I just do me and then you just figure me out.
mhm.
Um so yeah, I'd love to see sort of where that conversation would go and what does it mean to attune? How do you do that?
It's what came up was starting with maybe a common misconception of what being attuned to means. If I'm attuned to, I will get what I want, and this will go
Mhm.
exactly how I expect.
Mm, love that.
Yeah. Like like, that is what I see out there a lot, and, like, if it's something short of that, they are not attuned to me.
Mhm.
And I actually think so separate from that comment, when I think about attunement, again, for focus on other, but I'm also aware that I am a self. Like I haven't lost myself entirely. I do have a body. I am breathing. That's almost like a necessary piece for me to be able to feel someone else. I have to be able to feel myself. And when I think of attunement, I I a lot of times think of physical first. So what is their breath doing? And this is because I'm trained in the body in both of my professions. So, oh, there's a little muscle tension there that wasn't there before. Oh, their breath kind of hitched. Oh, their breath softened and there it went all the way into their belly. And again, none of this is right or wrong. It's all data. And so you may not have a problem with the discomfort, but I think where people can feel deeply attuned to is noticing a change in whatever response you're giving as the dom to their body's change.
Mm,
Even if it's not necessarily like they're feeling more discomfort and you automatically pull away, they're feeling more discomfort and you put a hand on their low back while you continue to give more discomfort. Or you go in their ear and you take a deep breath while you continue to give discomfort. And so it's almost like they don't need to be exactly matched, but there are really subtle ways that you can let someone know that you have noticed things have changed in their body, especially when it comes to like ramping up in intensity, I would say.
mhm. Yeah, I love this. I was smiling as I was hearing you because just that knowing of in a way being like, "I'm here, I see you,
Hmm.
and I know where we need to go."
Hmm.
It and of like, I see you and the confidence that you were talking about. That that is such a delicious sauce.
Hmm.
You know, I will take that all day and all night. And and it brings in this piece, which is a desire that I have, which is and why I want to submit to someone else is so that I can be brought somewhere greater than I could imagine going myself.
Hmm.
And there's like a trusting in the intuition or the oracle or the wisdom, like God, like whatever it is that's like flowing through them, that they see some path for me that's more than I could envision for myself.
Yeah.
And I believe that attunement opens that doorway for it. So, in the way that you were saying that you're not necessarily going to stop applying the discomfort, but you're going to show, like, I see you and we're going to keep going.
Mhm.
There's something in that that opens this pathway for trust. Like, I trust you. I trust where we're headed. I trust that you've got me. Like, you're not going to, send me astray and like, let's see. And that's where surrender comes in. Like,
Mm.
'cause surrender happens when I've never said this before, but it happens when you can't you can't see what it is that you're surrendering to. They're like, there's no longer vision, the land is no longer in sight, you're out to sea, and you're just trusting.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but it really is. It's like it's not trust or it's not faith if you know the outcome.
Mhm.
It's not it's like, "Ooh, that's a really cool concept." Like, surrender actually begins when the ground falls away.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. So that's a bit on attunement. I think I spoke to physical, emotional, another thing. There's so many ways to play with emotional attunement. Something I find to be like a hurt so good is when someone plays your psychological wounds or neuroses with like scalpel like precision.
Ooh,
Mhm.
say more.
Yeah. Because again, in the real world, there can be a lot of, as there should, like care, but there can also be a little maybe coddling around
Mm,
wounds, in good intention. But there's something in that kind of robs someone of their sovereignty with their own wounds. And having someone poke on that exact spot with intention is like the most, it's like a toothache that you is like aching and then you put pressure on it and it like it that feeling of like, "Oh my god, this is so," it's like someone going and being, and it's, you feel so seen, but in a really unique way. That's like, I see this exact flavor of your wound, but not only do I see that, I see the you that is bigger than this,
mm.
so much bigger than this, that this actually can come into this container and it doesn't, that's not you. Like, I don't buy this story to the degree that I'm gonna fucking throw it in your face and turn the knife, and then I'm gonna just lick whatever comes out.
Yum.
I don't know where this came from. I don't know how I got this way, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, and it's a gift because I think it shows that there are ways to be with wounds that, is artful.
Mhm,
Like you think about great artists, what they make isn't always, but it's real and it's raw and it's skillful, it's masterful.
mhm,
Um, and the best art, I mean, the best poetry, the best paintings, the best sculptures, like really reveal something honest. And you
mhm,
can tell it's coming from a person who's lived a life. And so, yeah, that's what I see in this. There's artistry
mhm,
in how you're not holding this, willy-nilly. You're like, in a way you have to have done your own work to be able to meet someone in that way, to meet their wounds with that much. It's funny, I'm gonna use the word care, even though turning the knife and licking the what comes out may not sound like care, but it is. It's, like, handled with real care, and, like, that's the thing that, when I think about myself, I would want to be able to do. I'd wanna be able to get to a hurt so good place, but that's a hard place to go by myself.
yeah, yeah, because we believe our own stories of our wounds. No matter how much work we've done, there's still gonna be, like, a little part of us that believes it,
Mhm.
and that other person gets to hold the, like, "I don't freaking buy it." Like,
Yeah.
cute, but no.
Great. And it allows then that person that's receiving the hurt so good feeling, the ability to laugh at it, to indulge in it with pleasure, to fight against it, to resist it, to have a whole visceral relationship with it,
Mhm.
because the other person is holding it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and again, in the right partnership, because I will say what I'm talking about in the realms of playing with the psyche and emotional wounds, it is a needs to be done with exquisite care.
Mhm.
Um, like, absolutely needs to. You want to leave your submissive better than you found them.
Mm,
And if you're not doing that, you should not be playing this game. So with that tenet, then I find the most satisfaction in pockets of suppression and helping people free it. And as the Dom, an area you can work with if you are wanting to take your partner into more of these territories and realms, what is your own comfort with emotions? Because if you are going to play in the realms of emotional dominance, you better be able to breathe if they weep. You better be able to breathe if they laugh. You better be able to breathe if they go numb. There's just so much if they get angry. Again, if you're playing in those realms, what's your own relationship to it? Because you might figure it out the first time you play. You may be like, "Oh, I'm pretty good with all of this," but he, I keep saying she, but they started weeping, and now I feel bad. I feel like I did a bad thing,
mhm,
and then the scene quickly goes sideways, and so or can go sideways. So again, it's really clear conversations up front of, "Okay, do you wanna play with this psychological, mental, emotional play?" "Yes." "Okay." You've got your safe words, so I know you can say these if you really wanna stop. A dom can even say in that moment, if someone does, you're playing in the realms of this kind of hurt so good pain, and your sub starts weeping, you can do a color check. Like,
mm,
and that's still you holding dominance. Like, you can just go right up to them, and you can also just pause for a second, be a human, and be like, "I wanna check, are we still green?" A half a second of someone in a deep emotional process is not gonna derail it. They'll probably be like, "Yes!" Because there can be some beautiful, energetic, emotional catharsis in that kind of release, and then you've got what the confirmation you need, and then you can keep the dynamic going from there.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and what I really saw in that demonstration just now, Carrie, was, like, you keeping your center and your awareness of the holding of the scene while, checking in with the sub. So, there's the like you said, like, can you still be breathing while your sub is crying or laughing or getting angry or whatever it is? But it also that all feels like a form of that yes and that you were talking about, where you're a yes to it, like, "Yes, okay, this is what my sub's bringing. Yep, yep, got it. Yes. Yes,
Mhm,
I'm a yes to it." And if you aren't a yes, then that's a clear sign that you're not green,
mhm,
and your sub may be green, you may not.
mhm,
So, well, what do you do in a situation like that? I have some thoughts, but I don't have as much experience with dominance. Like, what would you do if you get to a yellow or a red and you're in the
mhm.
dominant role?
Mm, yeah, because again, we're saying dominants have boundaries. Dominants bump into edges during scenes. Dominants get to say yellow or red during scenes. I think that can be something people hear but don't necessarily trust. So if in that scenario, if I checked in and they were green and I was like, "Ooh, I'm actually noticing that my attention's starting to focus on me, or my insides are feeling like trembly or quivery." Those are signs for me that I'm not as centered. So you will get to know your own signs of what that might look like. I'll be honest, I haven't had it happen a ton. So at this is more of in starting to enter the realms of what I could see myself doing. I'd say a really important piece is catching it early,
Mm,
because as the one holding the scene, if you bypass your own nervous system's ability to be in that scene and you hit red, and you have someone in front of you in a really open state, again, you have trust and there's repair and lots of things can happen, but that can be a really, really, really painful spot for both people because now you have a deeply open, possibly mindless, possibly emotionally in the thick of it, and then someone who just stepped in their own shit pretty hard too. And it's like, where's the adult?
Mhm.
So I do think that responsibility on both people to recognize when they're hitting their edges, but speaking to a dominant who starts to feel like, "Ooh, this is stretching my capacity." I think they absolutely have a responsibility to slow it down, to know what resources themselves, because you wouldn't wanna eject so quickly if someone is really open and you've just taken them to this edge, but it's like and honest, like, "Hey, I'm yellow," or, "Hey, I'm noticing that I am so concerned with how you're crying right now that I actually don't wanna continue in the dominant expression right now. So can we you're doing beautifully, and I want you to continue to have your process and to cry, and I don't need anything different from you right now, but I just need to be me, Kari, for a minute, not me, the dom." And then there may be something, maybe it's like, we're gonna take 2 breaths, we can have physical contact. I'm gonna take a second and see if I have something else that comes to me in that time. Because again, the dominant gets to choose for a scene to end as well.
Mhm.
And just because someone is in front of them emoting does not mean they have to continue the scene. That said, a solid aftercare plan is vital if you're delving into the realms of hurt so good or psychological, mental, emotional play. And so then if nothing else, if that dom has like missed that or sometimes it just happens, right? We don't know all of our triggers sometimes until it comes up. And then the way a phrase someone says, it can throw you. So that someone that in dominance could go to red really quickly and not see it coming.
Mhm.
So if you have an aftercare plan, no one has to think in that moment. Not the person who's in full surrendered emotional expression, not the person who's now fully triggered and maybe locked up. You can go towards your like, okay, call in red on the scene. Let's go towards our aftercare, which aftercare is like often a leaning in, a remembering of the care dynamic there. Whatever it's been negotiated, it could, if it's pre negotiated, be we take 3 minutes separate and then come back together, however that might look. And just continuing to have care be there. So if it's like, I can't hold you right now and I see you're really open, I'm going to come back in 2 minutes and and then we'll go into our full aftercare plan. That it would probably hurt. It would probably be devastating for that person in that degree of openness. Yes. But what would be more devastating is then the person who is completely triggered, numbed out, freaked out, maybe who knows what the dominant is experiencing, then meet their degree of emotionality, the, the other's degree of emotionality, it's not going to be a great experience. So I genuinely believe it's like the oxygen mask. You do need to put yours on first to be able to then regulate and then immediately return to like, okay, like if you say 2 minutes, put a timer on and be exquisite with the 2 minutes.
Mm.
And even if you're not ready in that amount of time, come back in and you're like, it's been 2 minutes. I'm still a little upset. How are you doing? Do we need to renegotiate? Can we move into aftercare? And it's interesting because as I talk that out, it sounds kind of controversial to, like, leave someone in a state of that deep openness, but the take I have on it is both people are willingly stepping into this, and it's not a risk-free play space.
I mean, it's thank you, because that it was a real gift to witness you talk that through, and I don't think this is a place that a lot of people go to. I don't think a lot of people really explore, "Okay, what will we do in the event that the dom or the one who the top, the one that is holding" in a power dynamic, the one that is holding the container has a yellow or a red.
Mhm,
Yellow is a little bit more manageable, and we talked about, like, you can slow it down, but yeah, if a red comes in, and especially if that happens in a moment of extreme openness. So just witnessing you is a gift, because I think it opens a pathway for people who haven't thought that through at all. And something I'm really seeing in all of this is that ultimately the top, the dom, has taken responsibility for holding the structure of the scene. And knowing that that is so, part of that responsibility is the care and holding of the bottom,
mhm,
regardless of circumstances. And so I'm honoring my red and I'm still holding the structure of the scene. So that may mean I step away for 2 minutes, but I hold that 2 minutes very clearly. I'm still holding my bottom
mhm.
or my sub, or, whatever the role, my slave, again, whatever role you've stepped into in that scene. And and then what you spoke of as having a crystal clear aftercare plan, um, is also very key, because then no matter what, you can go to aftercare and both of you have agreed to that aftercare plan. You know what it is, you're stepping into it clearly. You know that it feels good for both of you. Any repair can happen out of that. So having that clear plan is like an easing way, eases you out regardless of circumstances.
Yeah, and if both people are triggered, it's not the person who's fully open isn't like, "Oh my god, I'm not held," because they're held by the structure that they agreed to at the start.
Yeah.
So even if their partner isn't available to hold them the way they want, they're held by the structure that they've set up. And then the person in the dominant role, they don't get stuck in, "Am I doing this right?" Or like, "I have to do something right now, and I have to bypass myself to do that." And so they get to, like, it's a really kind landing for both people, and it's not always gonna go perfect.
Mhm.
And so it's like you could set all the safety in the world and things might still happen. So that's where it's like repair comes into play. I think, like, for me, a thing I like to have as a general level of buy-in for any kind of power dynamic is an assumption of good intent. And this is with a vetted partner, someone that can genuinely agree to that. So that if things do go a little unplanned, once everyone has returned to their solid spined regulated self, you guys can come back together and be like, "Whoa, okay, what happened? I'm sorry, I couldn't hold you. We had even an aftercare plan, but I got so freaked out, I couldn't do that. Okay, did you miss some signals on the way? Or, oh, this is how it felt. Do you mind just witnessing me and how it felt now to be dropped in that degree of openness?" And this person now might be able to be like, "Yes, absolutely. Like, I am so sorry as well." And like if that were to happen, it would feel terrible. No, no doubts that would feel terrible. And in the moment, I imagine one or both people would be like, "This is the worst thing ever." And if you hold everything that happens in intimacy as an opportunity for connection,
Mhm.
including mistakes, conflicts, scenes that go awry. If you hold that as a tenet, there's actually probably a really deep intimacy available in the repair after something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would say that in my dominant and submissive marriage, the I mean, we repair often, and, because it's an ongoing we don't step in and out. So repair is very key to our evolution. That's we bump up against each other, and then we repair,
Mhm,
and we repair within our dynamic. We have a specific way that still honors and respects the power dynamic, and through that exchange of repair, every time we get more and more connected
mhm,
and our agreements get clarified and our relationship gets closer, and I come to know him even better, he knows me even better. So the bumping up against each other is a part of how we grow together. And one of the things that we encourage encourage when we have people set up scenes in our structure, there's a category for meaning, for talking about what is this in service of? Why are we doing this? Why are we stepping into the scene?
mhm,
Or if it's a greater dynamic, why are we stepping into this dynamic? What is this in service of? What is the meaning? Is it love? Is it more connection? Is it more intimacy? Is it creating more passion, trying new things, experimentation? Like, what are we ultimately in service of? And you can check every action in your scene against that. Like, are we still in service of that North Star?
yeah,
And that also helps a Dom, because the Dom, as they're guiding the scene along the way, or guiding the dynamic, they have a North Star that they are oriented towards as they guide.
yeah.
To some of the earlier stuff, like when you're talking about pain and discomfort, like, is this ultimately in service of the thing that we have agreed on?
Including, this is in service of me as the dom inflicting whatever I desire upon you in our predetermined and agreed upon boundaries and desires. Great. Or like in service of connecting to the divine. Like it can be as magical and divine and spiritual and liberating, and it can be as like tangible and potent as like my desires moved through me to you is the thing.
Yeah. My pleasure, your pleasure.
Yeah. 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 It's and that can help if, we went I've touched on the, like, what if there's a yellow or red a lot, but the thing that I'm gonna just kinda flesh out this last piece is it can be so easy with a power dynamic if you're in the submissive, the bottom role and something happens to feel more victimized,
Mhm.
and I get it. I play both sides of this fence here, and it is devastating to be so open and to be dropped. But it is also devastating to have someone agree or ask you to push them to their edge. And when you hit yours, now you're the bad guy.
Mhm. Wow, yeah.
Like that is just as devastating. And it's a little harder to see just because of the inherent nature of a power dynamic. And again, this isn't a clear, consented scene. And so that's where it's like we talk a lot about empowered submission, and there's a bravery and a sovereignty that's maintained even in full surrender, because it's like I am fully consenting to play at this edge, and there are two people in this dynamic,
Yes.
and that degree of trust between a dominant and a submissive, like, "Hey, if I hit my edge, if I hit your edge, will you still love me?"
Mm.
Whatever that form of love is, friend love, care love, partner love. Like, that's a lot of times, I think, what's at the heart of a fear of someone who's a little bit scared of trying dominance. What if this goes wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, because, one of the tenets of dominance is the responsibility.
Mhm,
And a person who's stepping into dominance is gonna take that very seriously.
mhm,
And, so yeah, it's very impactful and can be scary because it's like, "Whoa, that's a lot of responsibility." It can feel like that.
mhm,
And we've talked a bit about the submissive's responsibility
mhm,
in responding and giving your weather report and and it can seem like the dom is carrying all the responsibility because
mhm,
they're holding the structure, they're giving the vision and guiding the scene, they're,
mhm,
having integrity and holding making sure that the boundaries are honored, and
mhm,
that's a lot of responsibility. But the submissive is also responsible for their boundaries, and they're in the structure of this, that they're not gonna just veer it off into a full, out of nowhere. If that happens, yeah, it's on the dom to bring it back, but if you both hold the responsibility of the power dynamic,
mhm.
there's a way in which it becomes an ecosystem that feeds itself.
Yeah.
And, another aspect of the submissive response in my dynamic is my devotion and my trust,
Mhm,
and I'm like, "Okay, like, I trust you, and you take this, and I trust that I'm also trusting that we can repair on the other side if something happens."
mhm.
And that is, like, not putting the dom in a position of being an antagonist.
Yeah, yeah, that's a well put. Like, not in the position of being an antagonist. Yeah, and ways to a responsibility of the dom is to recognize what their capacity is. So it
Yes.
might be super sexy to play in this hurt so good. Let's get into your emotional wounds and psyches, but it's so integrity was the word. I was glad you said it. I think integrity is a big one, and that's integrity of timing, integrity of the boundaries that were stated, so that the submissive then can let go of that, and integrity of knowing what they can actually hold. And it is so hot to slow it down and to end a scene and leave someone wanting. And it is so hot to dom someone in a way that is alludes to where you want to take them,
Mm.
but tells them that you are not going there a second faster than they are going to let happen. Like, there's just so many ways that you can play with this and pace it. And that's ideally how you prevent yourself from getting in one of those places where they're weeping, you're triggered. But if you find yourself there, come find us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come find us. Like,
Yeah.
we got you. Nicolette's wonderful with repair conversations. I hope that people hear how much reverence we hold for both positions of power
Yes.
and not an auto assumption about any of it. And that's why we've created some of our programming, is because it's like there can be some shadow dynamics that play out around this. And it's like, we're not falling for those. Both people are empowered in this.
Mm.
And then here's how we can make it hot and not just like dry, crunchy talky talks, right? But it's
Yeah.
like eh, but we want to empower people to take some risks because that's where the juice is. But what do you need in place to take these risks? And we're so down to talk about that. That's our business. That's
Yeah,
erotic reclamation.
absolutely. And, you know, we came into this business knowing that we have our limits too.
Yeah.
And so, like, we do this work ourselves
Yeah.
to be able to show up with the capacity that we have to hold the kinds of spaces that we hold, and to be honest, and we have safeguards in place to make sure that no matter what, no one gets dropped, but also we're not denying our own capacity. So that there's that too. Like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to got it all sorted out. You don't have to have done every shadow work of every you've ever done and know all your, faults and have it all figured. Like, it's not about having it all figured out.
Yeah.
It's just about being honest about where you're at and working within your capacity, and you can stretch your capacity through the play.
Yeah.
That's a very cool aspect of playing in power dynamics is you get to stretch that capacity and grow.
Hmm. Hmm. So good. And it can be hot playing on all scales. And
Mhm.
that's we talk about that in other things, but like baby steps. Even doing this podcast where I was speaking about dominance a couple weeks ago, I was like, no, I'm not in a good place for it. So we live this. And then
Yeah.
today I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm good for that today. And so it's just like really being honest. Like, what's the capacity today? And now I'm like, I love this.
Mm.
Like, well, I'm gonna teach a course on this. I'm like, let's
Yeah.
go.
So good. Well, I wanna speak to one last piece around dominance that, I wanna empower the power, like, you're talking about the power, and both partners are empowered.
Mhm.
But I really want to empower the power of a dom.
Yes.
Is that's part of the gift of someone taking the top or taking the dominant pull is, and I've just been loving hearing you share all this because, like, the power is hot, it's desirable. Like, that's actually how I experience dominant desire is through the expression of the power.
Mhm.
And, like, I'm gonna take what I want. I want like, I want this and I want it because I want it, and the power that is possible, the control that there are aspects that, when we talk about power and taking and control, these are things in our culture that often get avoided and put into the taboo and into the shadow, and this is a space where it can be brought in a really healthy and exciting way, and where it's delighted and desired, and so many people desire to have someone else take full control and to be able to let go of control. So, like, this is a space where you really can take that control,
Yeah.
and it's hot.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah. Like, empower the power. Like, we don't need to dilute that. Like, empowered, both people empowered is not a dilution. It's just that they have their own responsibilities. And yeah, I love that.
So, Carrie, I'd like to end by asking you, what do
Mhm.
you like? What do you love about dominating?
You know what? I love it because I was like, "Oh," and something popped in my mind, and I was like, "Well, I just didn't get to say it." I I love dominating as service.
Mm,
I'm probably a little bit more of a service top. I love giving people an experience that surprises them, that frees them up, that has them feeling seen, that opens them up to like, "Whoa, I didn't even know I would like that." Like, I enjoy doing that in service of other. And then the modality, I just like doing it really, like, playful and kinda fucking around a little bit.
mhm.
Yeah.
but spicy. Your feisty, spicy side from the dominant side.
Yeah.
I love
Maybe
that.
that's what I'm just such a adventurous soul,
Mhm.
you know? And I will say last plug, and then we'll wrap this one because I'm sensing we could talk about this forever. I think I'm quite good at it because I understand submission.
Mhm.
So it's not hard for me because I can almost automatically see myself in the other side and know what I would want to receive in that moment. So if you're a Dom and you have not experienced submission, highly recommend, 10 out of 10 recommend, because you will learn so much about it.
And vice versa, subs.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
So don't know how to do that? Again, I'll just keep plugging. Come find us.
Find us. Thanks for listening to Erotic Reclamation. If this episode did something for you,
Turned you on, made you think.
made you feel a little less alone, subscribe, leave a review,
Share it with someone who needs it, and then come back for more.
because you get to want more.